Good evening, everybody. I'd like to reconvene the city council meeting. I'd like to call the city council meeting to order. And I would like to have our Mayor Pro Tem Shaw lead us in our invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you and good evening. Let us take a moment of pause and reflection. We gather here today in a spirit of service and responsibility, aware of the challenges our community faces and the opportunities that lie ahead. In a time of rapid change and pressing concerns, whether economic uncertainty, social tensions, or environmental stress, we ask for wisdom, clarity, and compassion to guide our deliberations. May we listen with open minds, speak respectfully, honestly, and act with courage and integrity. May the decisions made here tonight uplift our neighbors, protect the vulnerable, and strengthen the bonds that hold our city together. Let us not be discouraged by what divides us, but inspired by what unites us, a shared hope for a safer, fair, and more vibrant future for all who call this great city home. Grant us patience in the process, humility in our leadership, and steadfast commitment to the common good. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. We'll now get a report on our closed session deliberations. Madam City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. The items on the closed session, we'll start with SAUCEDO versus City of Redlands. The item was continued to June 24th, a special meeting of the City Council to be held at 3:30 p.m. here in the chambers. Item number 2, Rogers versus City of Redlands. The council received a status report, and then Councilmember BARICH made a motion, Mayor Pro Tem Shaw second, and the City Council voted unanimously to authorize the filing of a petition with the California Supreme Court in this case. The last item is the real property negotiations, and there was no reportable action for that item, and that ends the closed session report.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney. We'll now go to item G, presentations. This is a presentation for International Day of Yoga Proclamation presented to Roop Goyal, City Council Member TEJEDA.
Thank you very much, Mayor. The opportunity. I think last year was our first year. The Yoga Proclamation and Commissioner Roop Goyal of the Human Relations Commission is here to receive it on behalf of not just the community that practices yoga, but everyone else who is involved with it in any way. So there was some change to the proclamation, and I wanted to begin where it says how it relates to Redlands. Whereas the population of the city of Redlands includes people who practice and observe the Hindu faith or are yoga practitioners, and whereas yoga was declared the most common complementary health practice among U.S. adults in 2017 to reduce stress, to become more flexible, improve productivity, and improve overall health, and whereas the United Nations proclaimed June 21st the International Day of Yoga, and the City of Redlands proclaimed the same on June 18th, 2024. And whereas the City of Redlands strives to honor people of all races, ethnicities, cultures, and faiths, as well as organizations or groups. Now therefore be it resolved that City Council of the City of Redlands does hereby proclaim June 21st, 2025 as International Yoga Day in the City of Redlands, and urges all citizens to enhance their general well-being and establish a connection with their body, mind, and spirit through the art of yoga. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you very much.
So yoga is for everyone, regardless of faith. And I'll say that the original, the root mantra of yoga is Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, Chitta Vritti Nirodha, which is in Sanskrit, which means the controlling of your mind is yoga. So when you practice yoga, you get health benefits, and you have better family relations, you have better community relations, less problems of addiction, and less crime overall. So So practice yoga as much as you can. On this Saturday in Brookside Park at 8 a.m., we have public yoga session for anyone to come. Just come and join and get started if you have. If you don't already do, if you already do, you already know the benefits. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Tejeda. Before we get into public comment, I'm going to have our city manager make some remarks on one of the issues that happened this weekend.
I just wanted to inform the council and those in attendance tonight that we have received reports about a city employee taking part of the demonstrations the other day. We are taking those very seriously. Once we determine all the facts, we'll act on those facts appropriately. But we just wanted to make sure everyone knows that we have received them and we are taking appropriate action.
Thank you so much, City Manager. Now we'll get into our public comments. I have three requests. First one is Peter Hall.
I want to talk about the last school board meeting. I saw a lot of very disturbing behavior and frankly narcissism and gaslighting. One of the speakers was a high school student who called the school board a bunch of mother effers, and then another speaker blamed the school board for her suicide attempt from a couple months ago. And we've seen people do that in controlling relationships. One of the things controllers like to do is they'll sometimes threaten to kill themselves to make other people do what they want. And I saw that at the school board meeting last week.
Next speaker, Joshua Hall.
I'd like to talk about the No Kings protests. The people protesting at the No Kings protests make the claim that Donald Trump is acting like a monarch by enforcing our border laws, but they're perfectly okay with Governor Gavin Newsom, who's pretty much all but declared himself to be a monarch of the state of California over the last couple years. The No Kings protests are protesting in favor of the LA rioters, who formally made their intentions known to retake California and the rest of America eventually back for Mexico through immigration. California, along with Arizona, Texas, Nevada, New Mexico, parts of Utah, Colorado, Wyoming, and Kansas, and Oklahoma, were once originally part of Mexico, but Mexico ceded them to the United States as part of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo after the Mexican-American War in 1848. So California, as well as all these other states, have been part of America since 1848. So the LA rioters attempting to make known their claims to retake California back for Mexico by waving their flags in Los Angeles, that's an act of war. And Trump did the right thing by sending in 2,000 California National Guard and 700 Marines. He's not making himself a monarch by enforcing our border laws. He's doing the right thing. And people also say that Trump was declaring himself a king by throwing himself a parade, but that parade was for the United States military, for our country, and our country is over 250 years old. So, yeah, for the Army. The No Kings protests are really dumb. Like, the people who are protesting No Kings, they're perfectly okay with like everyone being forcibly locked down. Like 3 years ago, forced to wear masks that didn't protect us from COVID, that actually gave people bacterial pneumonia. They're okay with like forcing people to take vaccines, which didn't protect from COVID, but actually gave people things like myocarditis, kids, strokes, aneurysms, all kinds of cancers, mainly brain, blood and bone cancers, stomach cancers, all kinds of things, kidney failure and all that stuff. They were okay with that, but like I guess enforcing our borders is just too far for these people. That's all I have to say.
Okay, next is Blake Vaz-Mendez.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Blake Vaz-Mendez, and I am one of the owners of D&B Property Maintenance. We're a local business here and licensed contractor here in the city. We have to provide our services, and we have submitted 3 bids in the last 30 days that I feel that the playing field is not fair as it could be, and I have some concerns. From what I can tell, the last 20 bids that have been awarded, no contractor's license has been a requirement. This includes awards totaling hundreds of thousands of dollars. The state requires any job over $1,000 must be performed by a licensed contractor, and per the Department of Industrial Relations, or DIR, it is the awarding body's responsibility, in this case the city, to ensure any contractor that is awarded must hold the appropriate contractor's license to perform the work. In the city's terms and conditions, it states the contractor is responsible for determining the appropriate DIR classification for the various employees and subcontractors used for a particular project or service. Essentially, a project that we bid on that was awarded to another firm a few weeks ago stated that it was not prevailing wage, and then it stated it was the contractor's, not the city's responsibility to determine the prevailing wage rate. You can see that that can be a little confusing. The winning bid was just under that cap of $25,000, which triggers it to be prevailing wage. Let's see here. Which is, it's great for the bidder who won the contract. However, the proposal we submitted was created following potentially different set of more stringent rules. I also feel that the combination of not requiring a contractor's license and the stating of the job not being prevailing wage is an unfair trap to put businesses who are following the rules to be pushed out. Saying no prevailing wage essentially says to the bidders the highest this project can be is $1 less. And so from our standpoint, any company who would win those ones being allowed, and they're allowed to bid on it with no proper licensing, is going to win. In order for competition to be fair and legal, a more consistent and detailed bid framework that clearly lays out prevailing wage rates and due diligence on proper licensing is necessary. I bring these concerns up not only to protect, my apologies.
If you go ahead and finish up your
Okay. Not only to protect prospective bidders, but also the city, because it's to ensure a fair bidding process for all contractors participating in public works projects. We've been talking with staff about these concerns, but it was important that you hear about what business owners like us are facing as we try to provide the best services and compete with the best offers we can. Thank you.
Next on our agenda is the consent item I. I have a request to pull item I-5. Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have any public comment on Zoom? Thank you. I didn't see any.
No, Mr. Mayor, we do
All right,
not
thank you.
currently
Thank you
have
so
any
much.
public comment on Zoom.
Okay.
Just a brief comment on item I-5. I will be abstaining from voting on the proposed rezone of parcel 0292-165-10 and 0292-167-02, as they are located within 500 feet of my residence.
Okay.
I'll move to accept the balance of the consent calendar.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember BARICH?
Yes.
Councilmember TEJEDA?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Shaw?
Yes.
Mayor SAUCEDO?
Yes, thank you. Moving on to item J is communication. This is the discussion and possible action relating to the cancellation of August 5th and August 19th, 2025 regular city council meetings. And this is a city council recommending the cancellation of those two meetings of the City of Redlands because of us going dark. And I believe it's pretty the staff will still be working here at the city. Should there be any request to have an emergency meeting, we will. But as of right now, our city council meetings in August will be canceled.
Mayor, you'll need to vote on that,
Yes.
please. Also, then we'll need to circle back around to I-5.
You want to circle
Okay.
back first, or you want to vote on this?
It's council's
Let's
choice.
go back to I-5.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we jumped the gun on there a
So
little.
I-5 would need a separate motion to approve.
Okay, I'll entertain a separate motion to approve item I-5 on the consent calendar.
So moved.
I move the council, is it, I-5 is, I move to adopt ordinance number 2983.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember BARICH?
Yes.
Councilmember TEJEDA?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Shaw?
Yes.
Mayor SAUCEDO?
Yes. So now we'll move on to agenda item J1, which is the cancellation of city council meetings. We'll need a motion.
And I'll move to approve the cancellation of the August 5th and August 19th, 2025 regular meetings of the city council.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember BARICH?
Yes.
Councilmember TEJEDA?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Shaw?
Yes.
Mayor SAUCEDO?
Yes, thank you. Item K1 is a public hearing to introduce ordinance number 2976, establishing the fiscal year 2025-26 annual assessments for landscape maintenance, District 1, in accordance with the Lighting and Landscape Act of 1972, and the public hearing to introduce ordinance 2977, establishing fiscal year 2025-26 annual assessments for street lighting, District 1, in Lighting and Landscaping Act of 1972, Facilities and Community Services Director Crocker.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. These are the city's annual assessments for the Landscape Maintenance District Number 1 and Street Lighting District Number 1. These assessments were formed in 1987 and 89. These assessments provide funding for labor, material, and equipment associated with landscape services, as well as funding for electricity to power streetlights, labor, material, and equipment, and general maintenance for streetlights. The intent of tonight's public hearing is to receive testimony from the public on the proposed assessments for fiscal year 25-26, and then the introduction of ordinance number 2976 and number 2977.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the members of the council for staff? Hearing none, I don't see any, I don't have any public comments sheets filled out. Is there any public comment on this item on Zoom, Mr. Moderator?
No, Mr. Mayor, no public comment on this item.
Thank you. City Clerk, have we received any written notices?
No written comments?
Okay, I will now close the public hearing. What's the wish of the council?
I move to introduce ordinance number 2976 and ordinance number 2977.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember BARICH?
Yes.
Councilmember TEJEDA?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Shaw?
Yes.
Mayor SAUCEDO?
Yes. Item L1, which is a consideration of a real estate transfer agreement between Redlands Historical Museum Association and the City of Redlands, and the determination that approval of the agreement is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act according to Section 15061B3. Assistant City Manager Boatman.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we're presenting the final real estate transfer agreement between the City of Redlands and RHMIA which formalizes the transfer of ownership of the Museum of Redlands located at 1 North Center Street. This agreement conveys the land, building, and all improvements to the city at no cost. The museum is a $30 million facility funded through a combination of philanthropic donations and taxpayer contributions, with the majority coming from private sources. The building is approximately 24,000 square feet, designed to national museum standards. It includes exhibit galleries with flexible layouts, an outdoor event pavilion and landscape courtyard, a museum store, office space, and a second floor archival storage wing. Space is designed for traveling exhibits, educational programs, and interactive displays. Key provisions of the agreement include a provision that requires the city to operate the facility as a museum in perpetuity, focused on historical, cultural, and educational use. In addition, the A.K. Smiley Public Library Board of Trustees will serve as the administrator, and the city takes all responsibilities for operational staffing costs, utilities, and care. In addition, RHMA has the option to continue to participate in ongoing fundraising and operation of the museum by entering into a future agreement to run the museum store as well as the event pavilion. And RHMA is also obligated to repay its earlier loan to the city, of which it's already, I'm happy to report, repaid half. This agreement secures a long-term public ownership of a premier museum facility, ensures transparency and accountability, and preserves the public-private partnership that made this project possible. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions for staff on the council before I go to our public comment? No? Okay. First public comment is Tim Rochford.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to just comment on a few things. It has really been quite a journey over the last 10 years. And I must say that I'm extremely proud that I'm part of the RHMA team. I'm also proud and excited, along with other members of that same team, that we're about to gift to the City of Redlands possibly the most expensive value-wise gift on record. With that said, there are a lot of people that need to be thanked. You folks here and a lot of others, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But think about it this way too. We think about Redlands and the wonderful gifts over the years, the wonderful necklace. This is certainly a jewel that's going to be added to that necklace. That's a $30 million jewel, as Mr. Boatman mentioned a moment ago. So with that said, now the thank yous. So thank you to the City Council. Over the years, you've been tremendous. You've been great support. So a huge thank you to all of you. Also, the City Manager's Office have been fantastic to work with. They've been terrific. They've come alongside and supported us. We appreciate that. The A.K. Smiley Library Board of Directors, they've been terrific to work with. Also, the A.K. Smiley Library team has come alongside the museum team over the years, and we've created a wonderful partnership. So, and then lastly, maybe most importantly, the community that's been so generous with their donations, $30 million that's been gifted. So a huge thank you to them. And personally, I want to tell you that for me, over the last number of years, it has really not only been a privilege, but an honor to work with so many people, and you folks are class acts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rochford. Next speaker is Dennis Bell.
Good evening. I'm not against this museum. I'm against the city taking title to it through this transfer agreement. But according to it, the city will maintain and operate this museum for a minimum of 25 years or until the Museum Association ceases to exist as a nonprofit in the city's usual delusional dreams. If and when that happens, then what? The staff report estimates the total operating costs of over $824,000 for fiscal year 25-26, while the Mid-Biennium budget update later on in this agenda uses a figure of $835,000. And what about maintenance and upkeep costs? Total costs in the ensuing years will be in the millions. How is the city budgeting for this? Or just worry about it when the bills come due? Residents need to know this now, not then. Where does the city propose to get that money when it can't come up with money for much needed things like new fire stations? Measure T money, increase the hotel tax, surcharge on city utility bills, put a bar and cannabis dispensary in it. With this agreement, the city is assuming full responsibility for any and all costs associated with the museum's fully operational, financial, and administrative issues. Then this agreement states that any net proceeds from the museum, store, and pavilion will support the museum. Those words, net proceeds, are buzzwords for the city isn't getting any revenue from it. As I understand, a contract for outside landscaping has already been let by the Museum Association. It doesn't like the handiwork of the city's hardworking city employees. Where's that contract at? Is the city assuming it or going out for a new one? And where's the contract for the inside housekeeping? I'm making a Public Records Act request for any and all present and future contracts with outside vendors for the maintenance and operation of this museum, and that those be posted in a conspicuous place on the city's website so residents can see how they're getting taken for a ride. I will also make a Public Records Act request for any and all present and future utility bills, and that those also be posted in a conspicuous place on the city's website so residents can see how they're getting soaked. The museum is going to be a money pit. It's another of the city's notorious sweetheart deals to benefit a small segment of residents. If you think the average resident gives a rat's rear end about this museum, citrus groves, public art, or the Orange Blossom Trail, you're not paying attention as usual and have a terminal case of dreamer's disease. This agreement and transfer for a project that was allowed to get out of control is one very bad and expensive deal for residents. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, do we have any public comments on Zoom on this item?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. What's the wish of the council? Are there any questions or comments?
I move that the city council determine that approval, if there's no other commentary.
I just wanted to say thank you, RHMA, for this amazing gift and for your persistence. I know this has been a long time coming, and I, for one, am very excited about its opening. Congratulations and thank you.
I'll just add that this is a wonderful opportunity for our community to finally highlight those contributors that make our city and have made our city since its inception the wonderful place to live that it is. Both the people that have worked in the orange groves and people who are owned the orange companies, you know, the packing houses and such. It's a really good opportunity for us to display that history and honor the people that have some sweat equity if they don't have, financial equity in our community. As I've said before, some segments of our community aren't able to have that disposable income, and I think it's going to be a great place for us to highlight those individuals who have given to their community in different ways. So thank you for that as well to the group. And again, I'd like to move that City Council determine that approval of the real estate transfer agreement with the Redlands Historical Museum Association is exempt from environmental review pursuant to Section 15061B3 of the state's guidelines implementing the California Environmental Quality Act. And I move that City Council approve the real estate transfer agreement with the Redlands Historical Museum Association.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember BARICH?
Yes.
Councilmember Tejeda?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Shaw?
Yes.
Mayor SAUCEDO?
Yes. Congratulations. Would you all come up and let's get a group photo of everybody? Come on up. We'll take a group photo with the City Council. Museum of Redlands volunteers.
Yeah, you guys are great. You have to kind of move in a little bit so we all fit.
Just need everyone to kind of scoot in.
Be cozy in the middle here.
Yeah, get a little cozier, guys.
Come on, see, you're good. Yeah, there you go. I can see over Eddie. We've learned.
Here we go.
Congratulations, everybody.
When are we gonna open?
Paul, now they're going to be asking us that question. I didn't think we did this.
Right?
You're right, we're gonna be asked like every week.
Okay, moving on to item L2. This is a consideration of a property donation agreement with Dearborn Park Trust 3117 for the donation of a city to the City of Assessors parcel number 0170-302-07000, and determine that the approval of the agreement is exempt from environmental review pursuant to section 15061B3 of the state guidelines implementing the California Environmental Quality Act. Assistant City Manager Boatman.
Thank you, Mayor. As you mentioned, this concerns a donation of an 8,000 square foot parcel. It's located on the east side of Dearborn between Independence and Laramie, just adjacent to a city reservoir. This property has actually been, I think, factored in as a city property for quite some time, although it's not. The property owner has come forward and offered to donate it to the city at no cost. With this, the city did go through the process of determining that it's in conformance with the general plan and that it's in conformance with the Surplus Land Act. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Are there any questions from staff from city council members?
Just, are there any improvements coming to that area? Is it going to need any improvements like sidewalk or anything like that? Is that all good?
Yeah, none planned right now. It actually has sidewalk already, and it's got a grass lawn right now and a bench and trees. So there's no additional improvements planned at this time, although we always reserve the right to do more in the future if we'd like. Yep.
Okay, any other questions? Any comment on Zoom on this item, Mr. Moderator?
There are currently no attendees on Zoom.
Thank you. Okay, I'll bring it back to the city council. What's the wish of the council?
I'd like to move that the city council find that approval of the property donation agreement with Dearborn Park Trust 3117 is exempt from environmental review pursuant to section 15061B3 of the state's guidelines implementing the California Environmental Quality Act. And I move that the city council approve the property donation agreement with the Dearborn Park Trust 3117 donating assessor's parcel number 0170-302-07-0000 to the city.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember BARICH?
Yes.
Councilmember Tejeda?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Shaw?
Yes.
And Mayor SAUCEDO.
Yes. Moving on to item agenda L4. This is consideration of resolution number 8695. I'm sorry. Skip that one. Thank you. Consideration, L3, consideration of a professional service agreement with RRM Design Group for the total contract amount of not to exceed $142,990 for the preparation of standard design plans for accessory dwelling units, ADUs, and determine that this action is exempt from the environmental review pursuant to section 15061B3 of the state guidelines implementing the California Environmental Quality Act. Development Services Director DeSatnik.
Thank you, Mayor. Brian Foote, our planning manager, will be presenting this item.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. I have a few slides and a brief presentation just to highlight the importance of this project. So give me 1 second to pull up the PowerPoint, and we're almost there. Okay, great. Thank you. Item L3, so this is an agreement with RRM Design Group to produce standard design plans for accessory dwelling units. This is an actual item listed in our certified housing element. The scope of work for this agreement will include 4 architectural styles. That would include Craftsman, California Ranch, Contemporary, and then Mid-Century Modern. So these are the 4 most common architectural styles in Redlands. Although there are numerous other styles, these are what we believe are the most prevalent throughout the city. So we selected these 4 to produce standard plans. This is an example of a Craftsman It's a low-pitch roof, typically gable, and then heavy front posts and the use of natural materials such as stone or brick. California Ranch is similar, but it frequently uses plaster and wood siding, again with gable roofs, low-pitch roof. Some examples of contemporary can be either low-pitch or flat roofs, and then use of various materials, stone, plaster, stucco, wood, for example. And then mid-century modern, which typically uses plaster, stucco, or wood siding. The four unit types that we've identified would include studios, one-bedrooms, and then a two-bedroom model. As you can see, these are the goals that we have in mind for the sizes of units, which we believe are reasonable. All of these designs will be one story in height, not to exceed 16 feet. Designs will be produced for a typical square or rectangular lot on a flat topography in Redlands, which is seems to be the most prevalent type of lot in Redlands. The agreement terms will be through December 31st, so this will happen fairly quickly. The total cost estimate is $142,990. It does include a variety of other tasks, including different architectural treatment alternatives. So what that means is with four architectural styles and 4 floor plans, well, that's 16 options to choose from, and then different materials, minimum of 4, that's going to be another 64 possible combinations. Then people can choose a variety of roof types and other treatments, and the possible combinations will be in the hundreds potentially for people to choose from. Also include other plans such as roof design and raised floor design and public outreach materials. As I mentioned, this is included in the housing element. It's a specific task. Program number 162 identifies the task, this project, to produce pre-approved plan sets for the public to use, and this will help facilitate additional ADUs in Redlands. We're averaging about 15 accessory dwelling unit permits annually. It's not a lot. It's better than 0, but it's not a lot, and we think we can do a lot better by helping facilitate the production of more affordable housing and ADUs in particular. Our recommendation is that the council approve the professional services agreement for the term and the amount stated. Staff would also recommend that the council provide us an express policy that when finished, the final ADU standard plan should be made available to the public and homeowners at no cost, again, to facilitate more ADU production and more affordable housing more quickly. So this is the motion on the screen. It is included in your staff report. I would note there's a third point included here. If the council is agreeable to provide a verbal policy to staff that these final ADU standard plans shall be made available for the public's use at no cost to homeowners and applicants. And staff is available for any questions. Thank you.
Any questions from staff? Councilmember Tejeda?
I do. Yes. What are, can you cite some or any of the fees that are involved with constructing an ADU besides these plans? I mean, I know we're recommended to, adopt them, bring them in at no cost to the owners, but if someone wanted to build an ADU, what kind of fees would they be looking at?
Right now, typically they pay building permit application fees.
Okay, and what does that run more or less?
Oh, I don't have those numbers at my fingertips, probably a few $100s.
Okay, a few hundred, okay.
And as far as development impact fees, I believe units, ADUs up to 750 square feet are exempt from paying any development impact fees, and then units above 750, they pay a small proportionate impact fee based on their square footage.
Right, okay, sounds good. So basically, if it's under 700 or 750, it's just a permit. Did I get that right?
Correct.
And then development impact fees, there's nothing. So.
And yeah, under 750, there's no development impact fees. Above, it's graduated. It probably ranges from about 5,000 to 8,000, depending on, because the maximum size is 1,200 square feet so between 750 and 1,200, it'll be graduated depending on the size.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Is there a fee to hook up to either our sewage or septic system? ADUs are on the same lot as the house, is that correct?
Yes, that's the development impact fees I was referring to. It's not as much as a full single-family house, but if for a 1,200 square foot ADU, it's probably about 8,000 square feet. $8,000. Sorry.
But they are required to do that. They just can't put something up and hook onto the,
Well, they can if they're under 750 square feet. Then we're prohibited by state law from charging an impact fee.
so they do not have to, if they're under 750 square feet, they do not have to tap into it or either have a septic or something like that?
Well, no, they do connect to our utilities. They just don't have to pay a connection fee.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
This is in addition to, if somebody still wanted to come forward with an ADU plan and submit it and go through the process, they're still able to do that. We're just making this as an additional option to make it a little bit simpler, correct?
Absolutely, that's correct.
Okay, any more comments? I don't think I see anybody on Zoom. Okay, what's the wish of the council?
I move that the city council determine that the approval of the agreement with RRM Design Group is exempt from environmental review pursuant to section 150161B3 of the state guidelines implementing the California Environmental Quality Act. And I further move that the city approve the professional service agreement with RRM Design Group.
Second.
Are we gonna do number 3 as well?
There's one more motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's right, we have to, I wanted them to put that up, and there's a third item.
We don't have that one on, Charlie.
It was
Yeah,
on the slide. There you go.
I further move that the ADU standard plans shall be made available for the public use at no cost to homeowners and other applicants.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember BARICH.
Yes.
Councilmember Tejeda.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Shaw.
Yes.
Mayor SAUCEDO.
Yes, thank you for that. Now we go on to item L4, which is the consideration of resolution number 8695, approving agreement 3CA07221 with the Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, CAL FIRE, for wildland protection during fiscal year 2025-2026 for an amount not to exceed $332,672.55. Fire Chief Sessler.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is our annual wildland protection agreement with CAL FIRE that began in 1990 with the annexation of land south of Sunset Drive. As of fiscal year 2022, the agreement provides coverage for 5,985 acres of wildland within the city of Redlands. Through this agreement, CAL FIRE supplies critical supplemental resources, including helicopters, aircraft, incidents. This also gives a more predictable and manageable cost structure, especially important as a single wildland fire can have significant costs associated with it. Staff recommends the approval for resolution 8695 to authorize this agreement for fiscal year 25-26 in the amount not to exceed $332,670.55. This concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Chief Sessler?
Besides what you described in the south end, is there any exposure on the east end of Redlands or other places?
Yep, so we have...
That encompasses the whole city, is that correct?
Correct. We've expanded the acreage back in fiscal year 2022. Initially, we were at 2,900 acres. Now we're at 5,000.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Chief Sessler? I did have one question. City manager's trying to pull up the map. On the legend, it has a striped, yellow striped, and it has the initials. What do those initials stand for? What?
That's the mutual threat zone. So that's when he borders state land, that's the area that automatically responds with state resource or unified ordering point for us. So anything within a half-mile of SRA state responsible area is striped.
Okay.
That's what that signifies on the map.
All right. Any? No, that's fine. He explained it to me. That's what I was wanting to know. Are there any other questions or comments for staff? If not,
No public comment?
no public comment?
Then I'll move that the city council adopt resolution 8695 with the Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, CAL FIRE, for wildland protection during fiscal year 2025-2026 for an amount not to exceed $332,672.55.
Second.
Motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember BARICH.
Yes.
Councilmember Tejeda.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Shaw.
Yes.
Mayor SAUCEDO.
Yes, thank you. Moving on to L5, consideration of a non-professional service agreement with BrightView Landscape Services, Inc. for sports field maintenance services for a 3-year term for an amount not to exceed $1,881,118, and determined that the approval of the agreement is exempt from California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to section 15301 H of the CEQA Guidelines, Facilities and Community Services Director Crocker.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. The city has various sports fields located throughout the community that are predominantly utilized for youth sports, practices, and games. The maintenance of these fields is a specialized service that is separated from the general maintenance that occurs in the city's parks. As such, staff advertised a request for proposal for these services and received a response from 6 firms. BrightView Landscape was selected as the most highly qualified, and staff is recommending an agreement with BrightView for a 3-year term with an amount not to exceed $1,081,118, or approximately $360,000 a year.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments for staff?
I just had one question. So this is a not to exceed. So for example, if the work begins at Texonia and it's out of commission for a while or something like that, we just don't pay for that during that time? Okay.
I noticed you don't have any numbers for the second, third, fourth, or, especially since that was brought up in general comment. Is there a reason why there's no?
Proposals.
Those are proposals.
Versus the bids. The bids are where you see the dollar amounts. These are evaluated based on the criteria that they provide in the proposals.
Okay, but maybe that. I wanted to know basically what would be the difference dollar-wise between BrightView and Excellent Landscaping and Mariposa Landscaping. It's not in the report, or I'm missing it, or am I misunderstanding? It's not.
Usually those are where we do with the bids. That's the procedure with the bids, but not the proposals. We don't base the evaluations on the proposals with the dollar amount. So we do an evaluation of the companies based on the services and the quality that they provide in there, and then we open up the dollar amounts.
I see. So in other words, you determined this was the best group to be able to handle the services we
Yeah,
need.
it's not based on a dollar amount.
Okay.
Yeah. For reference, really quick, the contract that we have right now is with Mariposa. We have it's $310,000 a year, and this one's $360,000 a year, so we're not too far off. We have additional services that we've put into this contract that we don't currently have, like pest abatement. We've been having gopher problems, so we added this into this contract. So the dollar amount's a little bit higher, but it's pretty consistent with what we've been paying.
Yeah, normally I wouldn't bring it up because it was proposed by somebody who had bid here who was complaining that it wasn't fair. That's the only reason I'm bringing that up.
Okay.
No, I appreciate, you answered my question about the gopher control, at the sports parks, especially because of the playing fields and whatnot. And also, I believe, we have a separate contract for gopher control at some of our other parks that are not athletic fields.
Correct. And this way, we have a separate contract with pest control, and this way we're including it in the same contract who's doing the sports field. So it's one individual doing it versus us trying to have multiple people help us with that. And in addition, just so the council knows, we're adding additional fertilization and the aeration, and then there's a quality site assessment report that's provided with this company. So we're trying to get that quality of sports fields at a higher level than what it is right now.
Yeah, I would just like to compliment your staff. They maintain our parks very well. They keep them very pristine. Thank you for all their hard work. There's hardly any litter. The lawns are mowed and trash is picked up. And so I really appreciate the staff, taking care of all our parks so our citizens can enjoy them, have safe environments to play. So thank you.
I will
to your
pass
staff.
that along.
Absolutely.
They've been working really hard.
Yeah, especially coming up here in the summer months.
They have. Thank you.
So if there aren't any other questions, I don't see anybody on Zoom. What's the wish of the council?
I move the city council find that approval of a non-professional services agreement with BrightView Landscape Services Incorporated for sports field maintenance services is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to section 15301H of the CEQA Guidelines, and I move that the city council approve the non-professional services agreement with BrightView Landscape Services Incorporated.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember BARICH.
Yes.
Councilmember TEJEDA.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Shaw.
Yes.
Mayor SAUCEDO.
Yes. Moving on to item L6, consideration of a $339,879 purchase order modification with Enterprise FM Trust for vehicle lease and maintenance program resulting in the total purchase order amount not to exceed $3,495,616 and the total contract amount not to exceed $5,668,269. Facilities and Community Services Director Crocker.
Thank you again, Mayor, members of the council. This purchase order modification with Enterprise FM Trust will allow for the procurement and outfitting of 6 vehicles for the fire department and 9 vehicles for the police department, as well as an increase to the amount allocated for vehicle maintenance. As stated in the staff report, there is sufficient funding for this purchase order modification within the city's fiscal year 24-25 budget. I'm available for any questions.
So I just had an inquiry. I know that some of our fleet, some of our, like our street tree department is needing either an upgrade or a new brush truck. Is that going to be considered in this contract? Or will it be coming back at a later day?
I know we are looking at that one. I can't remember. I don't think it's this one. This one was specific just for the fire and the police.
Okay.
But let me go back and look at that one. I know that we were looking at trying to get that one in.
Okay, great. Yeah, because that's a big service for our customers about being able to pick up do the tree trimming in-house and be able to haul it away with some of our vehicles that maybe have not gotten a timely repair or they're aged out already, the brush trucks. All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? I don't see anybody on Zoom. What's the wish of the council?
Have that on. I move to approve a $339,879 purchase order modification with Enterprise FM Trust for the vehicle lease and maintenance program resulting in a total purchase order amount not to exceed $3,495,616 and a total contract amount not to exceed $5,068,269.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Barrich?
Yes.
Councilmember Tejeda?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Shaw?
Yes.
Mayor SAUCEDO?
Yes. Moving on to item L7, consideration of resolution number 8679, approving the City of Redlands professional rules and regulations and rescinding resolution number 8200, Human Resources and Risk Management Director Matteau.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. This item will be presented by Human Resources Manager Keisha McDonald.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The Human Resources Department has conducted a review of the existing PRR and implemented revisions to align with current laws, clarify workplace expectations, improve procedural efficiencies, and enhance the overall clarity in personnel matters. A copy of the PRR was provided to Council and Labor in advance for review, and staff recommends Council approve Resolution 8679, approving the revised City of Redlands personnel rules and regulations, which will become effective on June 17, 2025, rescinding Resolution number 8200. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for staff? No? I don't see anybody on Zoom. What's the wish of the council?
I'll move to approve resolution 8679.
Second.
We have a motion to approve resolution. Motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Barrich?
Yes.
Councilmember Tejeda?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Shaw?
Yes.
Mayor SAUCEDO?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to item L8, consideration of fiscal years 2025 and 2026, Mid-Biennium budget update, Management Services and Finance Director Garcia.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. We've prepared a short PowerPoint presentation to go over some of the highlights of our mid-biennium review. This review is part of our ongoing 2-year budget process. It gives us the opportunity to evaluate what's working, address new priorities as they arise, and realign resources when and as needed. It reflects continuous oversight and our commitment to proactive financial planning. Slide 2.
Oh, I'm sorry, they were renumbered. Slide 15. This biennial budget spans over $500 million in appropriations and across 2 fiscal years. Since adoption, we've had regular fiscal check-ins across departments, with management, and at various intervals with City Council. My comments tonight are more thoroughly outlined in the City Manager's budget message for the mid-biennium, which appears at the beginning of the budget document that's attached to this staff report. Okay, so what's new? Fiscal year 2025, as we wrap it up, the most significant changes to speak of this year are the decline in sales tax that we're seeing, largely due to a major fulfillment center changing its operational footprint. Additionally, there are signs that sales tax overall will experience a period of slow growth and very possibly a contraction based on consumer spending trends. Fortunately, this year, strong gains in property tax, investment income, and business license compliance efforts have helped buffer that impact. We're also moving forward with the long-awaited investments in Safety Hall and City Hall, using the future facilities reserves in a targeted way. So what else is new? Several one-time reserve-funded projects have been added since the budget's original adoption. These include the England Grove acquisition, a grant match for the Orange Blossom Trail, and funding for the much-needed termite abatement at the A.K. Smiley Public Library. As well, the Museum of Redlands Division was formally launched. Other capital spending includes fleet and generator upgrades in the fire department. The bottom line for fiscal year 2025, despite the revenue challenges, the city's bottom line for fiscal year 2025 improved by roughly $550,000, and the revised deficit is slightly smaller. And our general fund balance remains strong at well over $34 million. Recall that this drawdown is part of strategically investing large prior year savings that have built up significantly since 2020. This improvement in the bottom line, again, is largely due to outperforming property tax and investment returns. So moving to fiscal year 2026, some revenue updates. Looking ahead at this upcoming fiscal year, the full impact of the fulfillment center's changes will be felt. About a $2.7 million loss is projected in sales and Measure T sales tax. However, we're expecting a $900,000 gain in property tax and continued improvement in business license revenue as our compliance program matures. The increase forecasted in property tax, investment income, and business license revenue taken all together will not be sufficient to completely offset the loss in sales tax, however. Despite this, for fiscal year 2026, we've kept spending flat. The only notable increase is for the operations at the Museum of Redlands, which becomes fully active in fiscal year 2026. Roughly $400,000 is needed to cover the cost of insurance, services, and supplies in the upcoming fiscal year. The bottom line for fiscal year 2026 has shifted. Our planned use of reserves rises to $11.1 million, up from the originally budgeted amount of $9.4 million. Even so, we will maintain a healthy fund balance of over $23 million. This reflects, again, that deliberate drawdown for major capital commitments like Safety Hall. Some noteworthy projects on this screen. These projects reflect continued investment in safety and community spaces. We're replacing key fire vehicles and upgrading generators. Parks projects include comprehensive improvements at Texonia Park, like renovation of the sports field, new lighting, parking improvements, restroom upgrades, pathway construction, and signage. The Ford Park lower restrooms are also being upgraded and expanded, and as well as furnishings for select parks that will be replaced on an ongoing basis. Other noteworthy projects, design and engineering continue for both Safety Hall and City Hall. Building improvements for City Hall could begin as early as spring of 2026. These are foundational projects that support long-term service delivery and public access. Measure T highlights, these are for fiscal year 2025. Measure T continues to fund public-facing services,
Major investments in fiscal year 2025 include the Project Home Key matching funds, park upgrades, specialized law enforcement tools, as well as capital spending, which includes a replacement of traffic signals and cabinets and major park upgrades, as mentioned before. Measure T in 2026 will support expanded fire and police equipment, tree trimming citywide, and the setting aside of the first debt service payment for Safety Hall. It also sustains our $1 million annual contribution to homelessness solutions. Looking ahead for the fiscal outlook, as UCLA Anderson School of Business of Management has framed it, uncertainty is no longer the storm, it's the climate. And sales tax volatility, rising costs, and labor constraints are now baseline challenges. As the Fed holds interest rates steady and revises its outlook, elevated borrowing costs are likely to linger longer, increasing pressure on public project financing and adding uncertainty to long-range infrastructure planning. While we're stable today, we must remain flexible, monitor trends closely, and be ready to adjust. It should be noted that despite the progress, important projects remain without funding. The structural expansion of the animal shelter, additional heavy equipment replacements for maintenance crews, and ADA improvements across city sidewalks and other facilities.
One thing I would add is for the animal shelter, we do have additional units coming. We've been working on preparing the pad, I believe, and that should be coming in the next few months. This is in addition to that.
Is that modular?
Yes, the modular are due August, September.
Yeah, it's it's in the fall, and it's adding 24 air-conditioned shelter units with play areas as well.
We'd like more, though, and that's why it's on the list.
Right, permanent structural additions are remaining need. This list continues to the next slide. There's more work to do at Texonia Park than is currently funded. There's more work in our libraries and community spaces, and we also lack funding for the development of plans like an ADA transition plan for city facilities and an economic development strategy document. These are future-facing efforts, and we'll need to identify funding pathways in upcoming budget cycles if possible. So on this next slide, I have provided schedule for the 27-28 budget schedule. Planning for the next biennial budget starts soon with the implementation of new budgeting software. That sets the stage for more streamlined process, improved forecasting, and stronger coordination as we prepare for this next biennial budget cycle. And lastly, as always, I want to extend my thanks to the budget team that helped craft this document, James Garland and Miriam Valtiera, as well as the department heads and their staff for their diligence in managing their individual budgets, and to the city manager for his direction and support in putting together this document. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. I'd also like to thank the city manager and Director Garcia for her team and all the department heads for recognizing the position that we are in now. Obviously, we're going to have a deficit or a loss of some revenue, but that your financial and long view sustainability of our financing has really allowed us to be able to weather this storm, and hopefully it gets better. The economic outlook is real. We'll see how it plays out, but I have full confidence both in the city manager and our city finance staff and the department heads to be able to deliver on some of the capital improvement projects. And as we look to some of the unfunded projects, we'll obviously are there and identified, and we probably like shovel-ready projects ready to go. And I also like to acknowledge our city treasurer, Mr. Doolittle, for his expertise in providing the investment policies or the investment strategies to be able to provide us a kind of a soft landing on some of these other issues. And so, Mr. Doolittle, thank you so much for your investment strategies, and we appreciate everybody's hard work. And again, we wouldn't be able to weather the. Hopefully, we'll be able to weather the storm, and have full confidence in the city that we'll be able to deliver the day-to-day operations, and still with a forward-looking vision on being able to complete some of these capital major improvement projects. So, with that, I'll turn it over to anybody else that have some comment, Mr. City Manager, or anybody. Nope. City council members?
I concur with my compliments to the city manager, the staff, and the city treasurer. If people know the other cities, we are so much head and shoulders above all the other cities in the Inland Empire. So we should be we should be very proud how financially fiscal we are. I do, just for the public, I saw we had a reduction of sales tax of a little over $2 million. That was a result of, can you explain why?
A major fulfillment center within the city has likely changed their operational footprint such that the activity that's going on on that property now, or those properties, no longer qualifies as a point of sale. Technically, from a legal framework perspective, under the California Department of Tax Administration. So we are not going to receive that point of sale from that particular fulfillment center.
So Sacramento did it to us again. Okay, very good. Thank you.
It's more likely the change in the operational footprint than the actual law.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that was a very interesting point that, we were seeing some benefit from the point of sale in the that logistics company. It was any part of that change? I know you said it was, part of how they're changing their model, I guess, right? On how they do business there. They're no longer point of sale there.
Very likely is the case.
Right.
We have yet to confirm.
Okay, and is that something that benefits the company? Are they doing it for benefit of the company, or is it something that's just the trend that's happening where they're not going to need to have that?
It's likely that it benefits the company from a logistics perspective. So perhaps they shifted to a location where point of sale is closer to an airport, or the logistics are just better served.
It's possible it's a byproduct of some other advantage to them. In other words, they don't really care if the point of sale is here in Redlands or if it's in Ontario or Rancho or somewhere else. They might have got a benefit from making this change on a different part of their company, and it shifted where point of sale is, but that's just reporting to them.
Right.
And so it doesn't really matter to them. They collect sales tax regardless of where it's going to be recorded and distributed to.
Right. Well, so moving on from that point, thank you for the explanation. I also wanted to point out that many of the past capital improvement projects, such as the water treatment plant and street resurfacing, things of that nature, other things that were neglected, not having a police department, official police department, is important to this community, but not having prepared for that in the past, or planning for it, or not having the capacity due to the downturn in the economy, that really had an impact on how we bounced back. And kudos to everyone for helping the community or the city to weather that. But I look forward to seeing those recommendations with respect to how we enhance revenue. Everything on the table, hopefully. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? I'd also like to thank Mayor Pro Tem and Director Garcia for initiating this business license review and collecting revenue that hasn't been collected in the past. And so thank you for implementing that program and be able to look at the business license program. So thank you for that. It offsets a little bit, but it's better than nothing at all. So thank you for that.
Yeah, just briefly, I wanted to thank Director Garcia and your team. I agree with Councilmember BARICH. We are in a much better position than a lot of cities in the region, and I always feel confident in the decisions being made here in terms of our finances. So thank you so much.
Okay, if that's all the comments from our city council members, I have one public comment, Mr. Dennis Bell.
First of all, I also want to thank city staff for their hard work on this, even though it's a lot of financial info the average person can't understand. This report mentions financial and economic uncertainties and challenges, but it doesn't take into account the potential loss of federal and state money in the current political climate with the California hater in the White House and the state's current projected budget deficits until the end of the decade. One thing of definite note is in this report is the Measure T expenditure of $3.7 million annual safety hall debt service. What are the particulars of this debt financing? What type is it and for what? The amount and the length of repayment. Debt service this large means that this debt needs to be on the ballot so residents can decide whether they want to saddle their grandkids and great-grandkids with it. See if the city can hoodwink them like it did with the Measure T and Historical Museum. When the former Kmart was bought for this new safety hall, I was under the impression the building was just going to be remodeled. Now I understand it's going to be demolished and a new one built. So how much is that going to cost and how long to construct? And then with this PowerPoint, you had this long list of unfunded needs. Why is that? You keep giving money away for things like a museum and for fee waivers that don't return revenue to fund needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. I don't see any public comment on Zoom. What's the wish of the, yes, Mr. Hoder?
Andy Hoder with a quick comment and food for thought. As I understood the presentation, the loss of sales tax is attributed largely to point of sale loss where the corporation is shifting their designated point of sale to somewhere outside the city of Redlands. This might be an incentive for more shop local. Shop local can also mean buying something at Target, at Walmart, in Redlands versus sitting at home in your pajamas and ordering your merchandise over the internet. When you place an order on the internet, that point of sale is according to whoever the seller is, decides where that point of sale will take place. So I'm just saying it's food for thought. Point of sale can be in Redlands, it can be in a big store, it can be in mom and pop store, but it can be within the city limits in person. When you buy at Target in person, the sales tax is charged at that moment, at that location, versus ordering something over the internet. Thank you very much.
All right. What's the wish of the council?
I move to approve the mid-biennium budget update for fiscal year 2025 and 2026.
Second.
A motion and a second, Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Barich.
Yes.
Councilmember Tejeda.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Shaw.
Yes.
Mayor SAUCEDO.
Yes. Moving on to item L9, consideration of an agreement for mailing services with Inland Pre-Sort and Mailing Services for an amount not to exceed $120,000 for a period of 1 year with 2 additional 1-year renewal options, bringing the total, the amount not to exceed $360,000. Management Services Director Garcia.
Thank you again, Mayor and members of the council. As you mentioned, this item represents a multi-year agreement for utility billing and general mailing services, as well as postage for city operations. The annual amount not to exceed is $120,000, extended out for a period of 3 years, bringing the maximum value of the agreement to $360,000. In practice, the actual cost is likely to be less than $100,000 each year, but there is extra allowance made for postage in case there is a special mailing need or also accommodates potential increases by the U.S. Postal Service in the cost of postage over the life of the agreement. And that concludes my presentation. If there are any questions, staff is available.
Any questions for staff? Any public comment? I don't see any public comment on Zoom. I have no speaker slips. What's the wish of the council?
Move the city council approve the agreement for mailing services with Inland Pre-Sort and Mailing Services.
Second.
Motion and a second, Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Barich.
Yes.
Councilmember Tejeda.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Shaw.
Yes.
Mayor SAUCEDO.
Yes, thank you. Brings us to item M1, individual council member reports on activities from May of 2025. Mayor Pro Tem Shaw has already reported his activities. Is there anybody else that would like to? I'll start over here with Councilmember Barich.
Thank you. I went to the Touch a Truck. I think it's 11 years now. What a wonderful event to have, and I want to thank all the community that participates. I want to thank police, fire, and city staff for supplying trucks. I know the kids just absolutely love that. I'll report. I don't need to report on the library board because the report's already been done, but I attended the library board meeting. And then I went by the protest they had on Saturday downtown, and everything seemed to be fine. Now, I do want to have one announcement. The RPOA golf tournament is Monday at the Redlands Country Club. My understanding is that the mayor and Councilmember TEJEDA are going to be in my foursome Monday, so it should be a lot of fun. I just can't wait to see them play golf. So that's what's going to be fun. So, anyway, so I recommend everyone come up and support our police officers.
I attended the Omnitrans board meeting as well as Touch a Truck. My son had a dream come true moment when he got to ride in the trash truck. So exciting. Wonderful events. Beyond that, I participated in a panel on this dais hosted by our Human Relations Commission around LGBTQ issues, and that was really well attended. We had a packed house in the council chamber, really thoughtful discussion and questions. And finally, today I'm participating in a job shadowing project by Zyra, who's here in the audience. She's a part of my Redlands Youth Council. She's a rising senior at RHS and is involved in Compact Club, Academic Decathlon, as well as many others. So thanks for taking an interest in what we do at the City Council and for shadowing me and being here today.
Mayor TEJEDA?
Councilmember TEJEDA.
I'm sorry, I did it too now. Councilmember TEJEDA.
That's okay. Just two things to report. I went to the Touch a Truck. I did drive by. It was a really, really great event. Had a great Father's Day, with my kids. They came over to visit, so that was great. I did drive by to see how downtown was, relatively peaceful, so that was great. But those are the two things I was involved in.
So I'll just mention a couple of things. I was here at that panel discussion on the LGBTQ concerns here in the city, and I think it was a great discussion. Learned a lot, heard a lot from a lot of folks. I also attended the Family Service Hunger Walk. I also attended the Touch a Truck, and also did my first Service Club presentation for the Sunrise Rotary. And thank you, Mr. City Manager, for attending with me. I think that was a great opportunity for me to be out in front of a Service Club council, or a Service Club. And again, our Service Club Council met, the Redlands Service Club Council, and is looking for next year's, we're planning on next year's Community Day of Service. So we're looking at some opportunities where we can engage our members of the community to come out and do volunteer work for next year's Community Day of Service. And that's all I have. Yes.
We do have our Juneteenth celebration
yes.
in Sylvan Park on Saturday, I believe from 10 to 5.
Thank you for reminding me that. And we also had a Freedom Awards today at the Contemporary Club, and thank you for all the staff that was there. It was a great opportunity for Unity of the Community to acknowledge some of our business leaders, our educational leaders, to acknowledge some of the work that sometimes has gone unseen or unrecognized. And so it was great to see that one event.
Also, if you go to our website, you might notice a new calendar. It's going to have all of the city events, but we've also added all of the bowl events, which I believe this Friday is opening night for the bowl. But if anyone wants to see the schedule there, you can even click on just a button we have that shows just bowl events. So check that out.
Great. Thank you for upgrading our website. It's looking a lot better. So that concludes our city council meeting. I adjourn the city council meeting to the next council meeting, which will be held on July 1st, 2025. Thank you, everybody, for coming.